E ora, come vi avevo promesso, oggi è la domenica, 9:11, sono le 17:12 e andremo a leggere insieme il secondo capitolo di Think and Grow Rich. E adesso iniziamo a leggere, metto la canzone di sottofondo così almeno state, diciamo, rilassati. Dai, adesso inizio. Desire, the starting point of all achievement, the first step to riches. When Edwin G. Barnes climbed down from the freight train in Orange, NJ, he may have resembled a tramp, but his thoughts were those of a king. As he made his way to Thomas Edison's office, his mind was at work. He saw himself standing in Edison's presence. He heard himself asking Mr. Edison for an opportunity to carry out the one-consuming obsession of his life, a burning desire to become the business associate of the great inventor. Barnes' desire was not a hope. It was not a wish. It was a keen, pulsating desire, which transcended everything else. It was definite. The desire was not new when he approached Edison. It had been Barnes' dominating desire for a long time. In the beginning, when the desire first appeared in his mind, it may have been, probably was, only a wish. But it was no mere wish when he appeared before Edison with it. A few years later, Edwin G. Barnes again stood before Edison, in the same office where he first met the inventor. This time, his desire had been translated into reality. He was in business with Edison. The dominating dream of his life had become a reality. Today, people who know Barnes envy him because of the break life yielded him. They see him in the days of his triumph, without taking the trouble to investigate the cause of his success. Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal, and placed all his energy, all his willpower, and all his effort into achieving that goal. He did not become the partner of Edison the day he arrived. He was content to start in the most manual work, as long as it provided an opportunity to take even one step toward his cherished goal. Comunque, raga, non credo che abbiate bisogno di una traduzione. Sto leggendo anche un botto piano e sta cosa mi sta piacendo. Sto seguendo tutte le virgole e i puntini. 5 years passed before the chance he had been seeking made its appearance. During all those years, not one ray of hope, not one promise of attainment of his desire had been held out to him. To everyone except himself, he appeared only another cog. COG, cog, non so cos'è. C'è scritto qua. Another cog in the Edison business wheel, but in his own mind he was the partner of Edison every minute of the time, from the very day he first went to work there. It is a remarkable illustration of the power of definite desire. Barnes won his goal because he wanted to be a business associate of Mr. Edison more than he wanted anything else. He created a plan by which to attain that purpose, but he burned all bridges behind him. He stood by his desire until it became the dominating obsession of his life and finally a fact. When he went to Orange, He did not say to himself, I will try to induce Edison to give me a job of some sort. He said, I will see Edison and put him on notice that I have come to go into business with him. He did not say, I will work there for a few months, and if I get no encouragement, I will quit and get a job somewhere else. He did say, I will start anywhere. I will do anything Edison tell me to do. But before I am through, I will be his associate. He did not say, I will keep my eyes open for another opportunity in case I fail to get what I want in the Edison organization. He said, there is but one thing in this world I am determined to have, and that is the business association. Scusatemi, non sono inglese. With association with Mr. Edison, with Thomas Edison. I will burn all bridges behind me and stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want. He left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or perish. That is all there is to the Barnes story of success. A long while ago, a great warrior had to make a decision which ensured his success on the battlefield. He was about to send his armies against... Aspettate raga, ripeto sta parte perché non sono stato molto attento. A long while ago, a great warrior had to make a decision which ensured his success on the battlefield. He was about to send his armies against a powerful foe. Foe non so cosa vuol dire, penso un'altra truppa tipo, truppa nemica. A powerful foe, whose men outnumbered his own. He loaded his soldiers into boats, sailed to the enemy's country, unloaded soldiers and equipment, then gave the order to burn the ships that had carried them. Addressing his men before the first battle, he said, abbasso raga il volume della musica perché secondo me è molto più alto della mia voce. Addressing his men before the first battle, he said, you see the boats going up in smoke? That means that we cannot leave these shores alive unless we win. We now have no choice. We win or we perish. They won. Every person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn his ships and cut all sources of retreat. Only by so doing can one be sure of maintaining that state of mind known as a burning desire to win, essential to success. Ed è per questo che mollerò la scuola. The morning after the Great Chicago Fire, a group of merchants stood on State Street, looking at the smoking remains of what had been their stores. They went into conference to decide if they would try to rebuild or leave Chicago and start over in a more promising part of the country. They reached a decision, all except one, to leave Chicago. The merchant who decided to stay and rebuild pointed a finger at the remains of his store and said, Gentlemen, on that very spot I will build the world's greatest store, no matter how many times it may burn down. The store was built. It stands there today, a towering momentum to the power of the state of mind known as a burning desire. The easy thing for Marshall Field to have done would have been exactly what his fellow merchants did. When the going was hard and the futures looked dismal, They pulled up and went where the going seemed easier. Mark well this difference between Marshall Field and the other merchants, because it's the same difference that distinguished Edwin C. Barnes. Mark well Barnes from thousands of other young men who have worked in the Edison organization. It is the same difference that distinguished practically all who succeeded from those who failed. Every human being who understands the purpose of money wishes for it. Wishing will not bring riches, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, then planning definite ways and means to acquire riches, and backing those plans with persistence which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. The method by which desire for riches can be transmuted into its financial equivalence consists of 6 definite practical steps. 1. Fix on your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money. Be definite as to the amount. There is a psychological reason for definiteness which will be described in a subsequent chapter. 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. There is no such reality as something for nothing. 3. Establish a defined date when you intend to possess the money you desire. 4. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not to put this plan into action. 5. Write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. 6. Read your written statement aloud, twice daily. Once just before retiring at night, and once after rising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. It is important that you follow the instructions described in these 6 steps. It is especially important that you observe and follow the instruction in the 6th paragraph. You may complain that it's impossible for you to see yourself in possession of money before you actually have it. Here is where a burning desire will come to your aid. Penso vuol dire aiuto, aid. To your help, potevano scrivere, ma non so cos'è. If you truly desire money so keenly that your desire is an obsession, you will have no difficulty in convincing yourself that you will acquire it. E raga, veramente mi sta un botto piacendo sto libro qua, perché è tutto quello che vi serve, raga. Avere, la fame o l'ossessione di voler arrivare a quel punto lì. E io ho questa ossessione talmente tanto da dire e da fare dei video dove dico ce la farò, nonostante non ho nulla adesso. Però questo in qualsiasi ambiente, è per questo che non mi fermo a fare i miei esempi, perché magari posso sembrare con un alto ego. Allontano il microfono perché la voce è alta, però non faccio esempi miei, però cercate di sentire queste parole qua, e mentre i miei stanno urlando per una partita di calcio, ecco come non dovete essere no, basta. Fate così, mentre ascoltate le parole che vengono dette, riflettete sulla vostra situazione e sui vostri obiettivi e cercate di capire cosa c'è scritto letteralmente nel libro, perché se veramente sentite qualcosa da queste frasi, vuol dire che Siete lì. Comunque dica-mi un attimo di non oculare più perché sto registrando un video. The object is... Ok. Arrivo. Bello ragazzi, ho appena finito l'intervista di un mio amico che ho conosciuto nel Discord di Malik, che si chiama Adame. Andate a guardare l'intervista, è uscita... Vabbè, Malik AquilFX, andate a cercarla, andate a guardare l'intervista. Dai, adesso ricomincio a leggere. Allora, dove eravamo arrivati? In teoria, if you truly... Continua. If here is where a burning desire will come to your aid. If you truly desire money so keenly that you desire is an obsession, you will have no difficulty in convincing yourself that you will acquire it. The object is to want money and to become so determined to have it that you convince yourself you will have it. Mentalità. Only those who become money conscious ever accumulate great riches. Money consciousness means that the mind has become so roughly saturated with the desire for money that one can see oneself already in possession of it. So, to those who have not been schooled in the working principles of the human mind, these instructions may appear impractical. It may be helpful to all who fail to recognize... To those who have not been schooled in the working principles of human mind, these instructions may appear impractical. It may be helpful to who fail to recognize the soundness of the 6 steps. To know that the information they convey was received from Andrew Carnegie, who began as an ordinary laborer in the steel mills. Despite his humble beginning, Carnegie managed to make these principles yield him a fortune and considerably more than $100 million. It may be of further help to know that the 6 steps recommended here were carefully scrutinized by Thomas A. Edison. It may be of further help to know that the 6 steps recommended here were carefully scrutinized by Thomas A. Edison. He placed his stamp of approval upon them as being not only the steps essential for accumulation of money, but also for the attainment of any definite goal. The steps call for no hard labor. They call for no sacrifice. They do not require one to become ridiculous or credulous. To apply them calls for no great amount of education. But the successful application of these 6 steps does call for sufficient imagination to enable one to see and to understand that accumulation of money cannot be left to chance. Good fortune and luck. One must realize that all who have accumulated great fortunes first did a certain amount of dreaming, hoping, wishing, desiring, and planning before they acquired money. You may as well know also that every great leader, from the dawn of civilization down to the present, was a dreamer, come me. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, facciamo che metto il microfono qua e lo giro verso di me. Aspettate. Play them go, non sacrifice. Non mi ricordo dove sono arrivato. Ok, was a dreamer. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank balance. Never has there been so great an opportunity for practical dreamers as now exists. We who are in this race for riches should be encouraged to know that this dynamic world in which we live is demanding new ideas, new ways of doing things, new leaders, inventors, new methods of teaching, new methods of marketing, new books, new literature, new applications for computers, new cures for disease, and new approaches to every aspect of business and life. Behind this demand for new and better things, there is one quality one must possess to win, and that is the find of purpose, definiteness of purpose, the knowledge of what one wants, and the burning desire to possess it. To accomplish this requires practical dreamers. Diciamo così. Practical dreamers who can and will put their dream into action. The practical dreamers have always been and always will be the patterns makers of civilization. We who desire to accumulate riches should remember that the real leaders of the world have always been people who harnessed and put into practical use the intangible, unseen forces of unborn opportunity. They have converted those forces or impulses of thought into skyscrapers, cities, factories, airplanes, cars, better health care, and every form of convenience that makes life more pleasant. Tolerance and an open mind are practical necessities for the dreamer of today. Those who are afraid of new ideas are doomed before they start. Never has there been a time more favorable to pioneers than the present. There is a vast business, financial and industrial world to be remolded and redirected along new and better lines. In planning to acquire your share of the riches, let no one influence you to scorn the dreamer. To win the big stakes in this ever-changing world, you must catch the spirit of the great pioneers of the past. Whose dreams have given to civilization all that it has of value. The spirit which serves as the lifeblood of our society, your opportunity and mine to develop and market our talents. Let us not forget Columbus dreamed of an unknown world, staked his life on the existence of such a world, and discovered it. Copernicus, the great astronomer, dreamed of a multiplicity of worlds, and revealed them. No one denounced him as impractical after he had triumphed. Instead, the world worshipped at his shrine. Cazzo è? Zeus? Sta parola qua. Zeus proving. Zeus mi sa che voleva scrivere. Zeus proving once more that success. This is proving once more that success requires no apologies, failure permits no alibis. No apologies, failures permits no alibis. If the thing you wish to do is right, and you believe in it, go ahead and do it. Put your dream across, and never mind what they What they say, c'è scritto say con l'apostrofe, per questo ho fatto così. Say if you meet with temporary defeat, for they, perhaps, do not know that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. Henry Ford, poor and uneducated, dreamed of a horseless carriage. He went to work with what tools he possessed, without waiting for opportunity to favor him, and now evidence of his dream belts the entire earth. He has put more wheels into operation than any man who ever lived because he was not afraid to back his dreams. Thomas Edison dreamed of a lamp that could be operated by electricity. Despite more than 10,000 failures, he stood by that dream until he made it a physical reality. Practical dreamers do not quit. Lincoln dreamed of freedom for the black slaves, put his dreams into action, and barely missed living to see a united North and South translate his dream into reality. The Wright brothers dreamed of a machine that would fly through the air. Now one may see evidence all over the world that they dreamed soundly. Marconi dreamed of a system for harnessing the intangible forces of the ether. Evidence that he did not dream in vain may be found in every radio, TV, and cell phones in the world. Moreover, Marconi's dream brought the humblest cabin and the most stately manor house side by side. It made the people of every nation on earth next door neighbors by creating a medium where news, information, and entertainment could instantly be disseminated throughout the world. It may interest you to know that Marconi's friends had him taken into custody and examined. Non so chi è sto qua. Marconi, cerchiamo Marconi. Marconi, chapter 2. Thinking Grown Rich, Marconi dreamed. Beh no, questo è il libro. Cerchiamo proprio chi era Marconi's Friends, senti. Ah ok, uno che mandava messaggi through l'aria, quindi mi sa che è quello che ha inventato internet. Marconi's friends had him taken into custody and examined in a psychopathic hospital when he announced he had discovered a principle through which he could send messages through the air without the aid of wires or other direct physical means of communication. The dreamers of today fare better. The world has become accustomed to new discoveries. Indeed, it has shown a willingness to reward the dreamer who gives the world a new idea. Ray Kroc is another good example of someone who made his dream come true. Kroc was a salesman of milkshake mixers. Most of his customers, restaurants and diners, purchased 1 or 2 units. When he'd received an order for 8 mixers from a small food outlet in San Bernardino, California, he decided to visit them and see how they could sell so many shakes. It was the busiest restaurant he had ever seen. The owners, the McDonald brothers, offered a very limited menu: hamburgers, cheeseburgers, French fries, shakes, and soft drinks, all at the lowest price in the area. Kroc saw an opportunity. If he could open a chain of these restaurants, each as productive and profitable as this, money would flow in. He proposed the idea to the McDonald's brothers and agreed to implement it. Within a few years, McDonald's not only became the top-selling food outlet in the country, but created the fast food industry. Kroc later bought out the McDonald brothers. Bought out non li ha comprati, cioè penso che li ha portati da qualche parte. And expanded the business into an international phenomenon, making him one of the richest men of his time. The world is filled with an abundance of opportunity which the dreamers of the past never knew. A burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. Dreams are not born of indifference, laziness, or lack of ambition. The world no longer scoffs at dreamers, nor calls them impractical. Remember too, that all who succeed in life get off to a bad start and pass through many heartbreaking struggles before they arrive The turning point in the lives of those who succeeded usually comes at the moment of some crisis, through which they are introduced to their other selves. John Bunyan, who wrote The Pilgrim's Progress after he had been confined in prison and sorely punished because of his religious views. Henry discovered the genius that slept within his brains after he had met... Comunque raga, vado un attimo, arrivo. Scusate. Eccomi. Allora. Vediamo quanto ci manca ancora per il capitolo 3. Per un bel po' di roba. Però mi sa che mi fermo a sto titolo qua. Desire outwits Mother Nature. Mancano tipo 6 pagine. Henry discovered the genius that slept within his brain after he had met with great misfortune and was confined in a prison cell in Columbus, Ohio, being forced through misfortune to become acquainted with his other self and to use his imagination. He discovered himself to be a great author instead of his miserable criminal and outcast. Strange and varied are the ways of life, and stranger still are the ways of infinite intelligence, through which people are sometimes forced to undergo. C'è puzza di bruciato, raga. La sentite? Sui miei piedi? Perché prima ho annusato i miei piedi e sono andato a lavarmi, ma c'è ancora sta puzza. Mi sa che è il camino sotto, cioè non il camino, il pellet. Strange and varied are the ways of life, and stranger still are the ways of infinite intelligence, through which people are sometimes forced to undergo all sorts of punishment before discovering their own brains and their own capacity to create useful ideas through imagination. Edison, the world's greatest inventor and scientist, was a part-time telegraph operator. He failed innumerable times before he was driven, finally, to the discovery to the discovery of the genius that slept within his brain. Charles Dickens began by pasting labels of blacking pots. The tragedy of his first love penetrated the depth of his soul and converted him into one of the world's truly great authors. Disappointment over love affairs generally has the effect of driving people to drink and ruin. This is because most people never learn the art of transmuting their strongest emotions into dreams of a constructive nature. Helen Keller became deaf, dumb, and blind shortly after birth. Despite her great misfortune, her name is written indelibly in the pages of the history of the great. Her entire life served as evidence that no one is ever defeated until defeat has been accepted as a reality. Robert Burns was an illiterate country lad. He was cursed by poverty and grew up. Come mi sto incasinando, raga. Sono diventate troppe storie di altre persone. Vediamo. Robert Burns was an illiterate country lad. He was cursed by poverty and grew up to be a drunk dad. The world was made better for his having lived because he clothed beautiful thoughts in poverty, thereby plucking a thorn and planting a rose in its place. Booker T. Washington was born in slavery, handicapped by race and color. Mi sa che sta raccontando tante persone che sono, erano sfavorite nella vita e sta dando esempi. And color. Because he was tolerant, had an open mind at all times, and in teoria sono 15 cm questi, o 16, in base all'esperienza di... No, sono 16 cm, raga, in teoria così. Quindi non si dovrebbe sentire un caos. Had an open mind at all times, on all subjects, and was a dreamer. He left his impress for good on an entire race. Beethoven was deaf. Milton was blind. But their names will last as long as time endures because they dreamed and translated their dreams into organized thought. Arnold Schwarzenegger is another person who converted his desire into action and achievement. He first came into the public eye as Mr. Universe, a glorified weightlifter. But Schwarzenegger was not a typical muscle man. He was a man with dreams and goals. He achieved them by becoming a wealthy businessman, one of the highest paid movie stars, and eventually Governor of California. Non lo sapevo sta roba. Che ha governato California, tipo. Born and raised in Austria, Julian Patrules. No, non c'è scritto Julian Patrules, ma dovrebbero metterlo. As a child, he began training as a weightlifter at 18. He won his first bodybuilding contest and the first of 5 consecutive Mr. Universe titles. He migrated to United States and continued winning similar contests. Although he had accomplished more than any other person in the art of bodybuilding, it was no longer a challenge. He sought other areas where he could use his talent. His training in physical development taught him that there was a need for a knowledge about physical fitness. He had that knowledge and wanted to share it. He wrote an autobiography, Arnold, The Education of a Bodybuilder, which became a bestseller. He followed it with a book on bodybuilding for women, showing female readers how to use weight training to get in shape. This led to a creation of a mail order, mail non mail, però è proprio email, come la mail, mi è arrivata una mail, of a mail order exercise business and a company to produce bodybuilding events. These businesses started him on the road to business success. His next goal was to become the movie star. Even before he had secured his first movie role, he set himself a goal to be as big in movies as he was in bodybuilding. After turning down minor roles, his persistence paid off when he was cast of the lead in the Conan of the Barbarian. Cerchiamo sto film. In Conan the Barbarian. Eccolo. Lui? Figa, era giovane. Questo è nuovo, mi sa. Questo è Captain America. E questo Arnold. Damn, quanto è grosso. Basta, se no perdo la NNN. L'ho già persa. L'ho persa però al 7° giorno. E il 31 ottobre non avevo gunnato. Sono resistito una settimana, però l'anno prossimo la vincerò. La vincerò tutto l'anno, raga. Appena inizierò a fare soldi non avrò bisogno di fare sto roba. Basta, sto andando troppo deep nella mia vita, ragazzi. Allora, this led to a series of action films that made him one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood. Success in the movies did not make Schwarzenegger complacent. He set new goals for himself, this time in the world of business. He invested in real estate, created a restaurant chain, and became actively involved of the other enterprises, and became a multimillionaire. As his success mounted, however, he added what became his dream goal, to serve the community. He traveled around the country to promote health and fitness for youth. He went into the inner cities and inspired the kids to eschew violence and crime, to say no to the drugs, guns and gangs, and yes to education. He has taken an active leadership role in several organizations dedicated to physical fitness and health. In 2003, Schwarzenegger threw his hat into the ring and was overwhelmingly elected as the new governor of California. You can learn much from this man. In setting goals, you are not limited to any one area. Schwarzenegger could have limited his futures to bodybuilding and become quite successful, but he dreamed of much more, set higher goals, and strove to reach them. He learned from his success and adapted his knowledge in other aspects of his life. Like Schwarzenegger, do not be discouraged by criticism. Critics belittled his acting ability in his first films, but he was not dissuaded and pursued his goal to become one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood. Che raga, adesso mi sa che finisco qua, anche perché ho fatto quasi, vediamo, 19. Sì, ho fatto 10 pagine esatte. Adesso c'è scritto before passing to the next chapter, kindle a new, quindi questo è tipo ha finito la storia di Schwarzenegger e inizia, diciamo, a dare, non so, a parlare di un'altra roba, quindi fatto 45 minuti ci sta. Spero che qualcuno sia arrivato fino a questo punto e alla fine, se qualcuno non è arrivato. No, adesso vado a fare la copertina così. O lo faccio così, lo faccio così. Sì, così secondo me è più bello. Dai, raga. A dopo, che tanto, cioè, faccio il video dell'analisi fra poco, fra un'oretta così. Dai, bella.